All right. Welcome back to the Evolution podcast with Mac and Jen. It's Jen and Mac here, and we are super excited to be here today because we are going to talk about money. Mm,
Money.
Money, money, money.
Some of money,
So excited.
but more the mindset of money,
Money mindset.
money mindset. And this goes along kind of along with what we've been talking about over the last couple of weeks, and kind of what we also work with our membership people with. And so you're going to start by asking me a question, right?
Well, I was just well, I don't know. I don't know where I'm gonna start, but I think that talk money mindset, talking about money is a good conversation to have
Yeah.
because because there's so many stories around money and um like I just know for me personally that once I started diving deeper into like my own money mindset um and started changing money stories for myself, that's when my life starts to get better, right?
Yeah.
So, well, my first question for you is
Mm.
what what causes people to be broke?
What causes people to be broke?
No, actually, I changed my mind.
Okay.
What is money mindset?
What is money mindset?
Yeah.
Well, that's a very big question. Well, it's just how you perceive money would be the easy answer. Um, uh, that's something I can't really define in one thing. There's too many aspects to money mindset because we can have an investor mindset, we can have an employee mindset, an entrepreneur mindset, um, a spending mindset, a, a flow mindset, a restriction mindset, like there's just too many things to really go after. So we got to start breaking it down.
Yeah, well, I think it's important that you just like said all of that because it's not just like there's not just like money mindset. It's like
No.
there's a lot of things that are involved with it. But I think that where we are in life is where we are because of our mindset around money. Would you agree with that to
Yes.
some extent?
Yeah. Well, in our current world, money's this thing that everybody turns into. Typically, they turn it into an idol, essentially, right? Like they begin to idolize money, especially broke people, even though they say they don't, but money runs their life more so than a wealthy person. And so until you get that wealth mentality, then you're controlled by money. And 99% plus people will say, "Oh, I'm not controlled by money." I'm like, bullshit. Because as soon as you don't have it, you're gonna lose your mind. You're gonna do different things. You'll do anything, and I watch a lot of people's morals and ethics and decisions and boundaries go right out the window when money gets extremely tight. And so that's, there's a lot happening inside of that. So I don't know, you want to go deeper into the question while I mute my phone?
When money gets extremely tight, we go against our own values and morals
To meet needs.
to meet needs for money.
Yeah.
Why? Okay,
So
why do you think, here's a question. Why do you think some people can't save money? I'm asking a random question.
it'd be, there's, there's a lot of things. It could be well, it's a belief around what money does for them, saving money does for them. If someone saves money effectively, then they have a belief around saving money, like what it does for them. Money's a more what does it do for you than what is it, right? Like it's what's it going to give me type of thing.
Mhm.
And so if somebody wants to save it and they can't, well, they're just essentially lying to themselves about being able to save it. And they just have to change the belief if that's what they want to do. However, I'm not a saver. Like I don't really believe in saving outside of having enough set aside to protect yourself. That might be a considered saving. But to me, saving money is not wealth. It never can be. Wealth is created by abundance, and something saved is just something put away, right? Like it's like having a piece of art put in a vault. What good does it do? Well, maybe it's an asset. Well, that's not really looking at it like saving something. That's an asset. That's different than saving. Money that is saved isn't really an asset. It's just this inanimate object that makes you feel something, makes you feel comfortable. So really,
I think
it's just giving you
when
comfort.
we save it, when we save money, it gives us this feeling of like safety and
Yeah,
certainty.
comfort.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So,
So, but when we save money for safety and certainty, we don't spend money. We just want to hoard money.
mhm.
How does that keep us broke in a sense? Because if we're just hoarding it, we're not spending it.
Well, what's the principle behind saving money?
What's the principle behind it?
Yep.
Are you at like what are you
Yeah,
asking me?
yeah. Like what do you think is the principle behind saving money?
I think it's in case like for a rainy day, like if something happens, we want to make sure we have like a money to like protect us.
Hmm.
Like if we get in, if we medical or like a
Emergency fund.
car breaks down, like yeah, an emergency fund.
Okay.
Hmm.
So what happens when the emergency fund is met?
What does that mean?
Well, how much do you need?
How much do we need?
Yeah.
You want me to, okay, I'll say $10,000.
Okay, so let's say you've got $10,000 saved.
Mhm.
Does that fix the problem?
Well, only if I need it.
Well, no, but does it fix, like, do you now feel safe?
Yeah.
So that's all you need to save and you can stop saving.
Maybe. No, because I want to save more.
Exactly. So typically the person that can save will just find another reason to save more. And so they're stuck in the scarcity mindset in the thing of like, oh no, I like the rainy day just continues to get bigger, right?
Hmm.
This essentially is also a broke mindset in a way. Now, a different saving could be, I want to save up to buy this, right?
Hmm.
I'm going to
Hmm.
save up to buy myself as a kid, maybe a bike, and eventually a car, a house, or whatever. Right? Well, I have to save to buy. And then you save and then you buy and then it's gone and then you work on the next thing. And those people that can usually do that also have, that bag of safety or something, but it's going to depend on where everyone's at. Um, so there's it all comes down to negotiations with ourselves on what we need or what we think we need. Most really, really rich people, that they have that scarcity. It's kind of, it'll surprise people, but it's like, well, what do you mean? Like they're broke, but they're scarce. Well, it's desperation that drives them. And that fear of being broke drives them to make excessive amounts of money, but they're unfulfilled. They got the money, but they don't have everything else that they want. So it's kind of this like crazy life of like, well, somebody has this and somebody, but then you go through the evolution of time and days and you kind of start to figure out what's what and fulfill more of life. But the general saving for a rainy day is you saying, all I'm looking for is a rainy day. And since money is my idol, since money is my focus and where my focus, the energy goes, right? Like that's where everything is, then all of a sudden you're going to wind up stuck in this zone of fear. And then what happens, like what happens if it's fulfilled? One, you've lost your purpose, right? Because if your life kind of revolves around safety and security, and let's say you were to meet the need of safety and security, do you realize how much energy and time you've now taken off the plate to where now your identity has to change, or you're going to freak out and create a reason to continue that, which a lot of times works with like massive financial crises, massive health crisis, like things like that. The people manifest so that they can keep their identity. So that's
Hmm.
part of the conversation. And a lot of people are like, I didn't manifest this. No, trust, like you can pretty much go back and look at things. I'm like, what'd you feel here? What'd you feel here? And track what's going on and how people create disaster in their own lives.
So if we're saving for rainy days, perhaps we are looking for we're going to create rainy days to
Mhm.
fulfill that purpose.
Yeah, I mean, you are eventually going to create a rainy day to fulfill that purpose. And I can tell you, every single time I've had a doubt in my mind of like, well, what about this? It's like, oh, shit, here we go. It's because it's like if I don't address this and get this dealt with in some proper way, it's coming. It's just a matter of time. And I'll chase it and think that I've got it covered, but I know what I feel. I'm very good at tracking how I feel. Because usually in order to actually address it requires some heavy change and some deep work, some struggle, some very uncomfortable like agitation, like it happens physically, it happens emotionally, like everything. And then you kind of break yourself through something. And so when I'm trying to really change something, I hate those feelings. Like I would rather just continue doing what I'm doing. And so if I'm going to change something, my preference is to actually go, what if I just start doing this a little bit? Like, I know if I invest $100, it's not going to change my life, right? It's not. It's just simply not. But if I invest $100, it means I'm changing a behavior. So if I go from saving to investing, or let's say I'm not even saving, if I go from nothing to saving, then I can begin to vibrate differently because I am changing a behavior. I'm literally changing something, therefore the vibration has to change. Now, is it going to equate to anything? No, I don't. I kind of make a deal with myself saying, I'm going to put this money here and I'm not going to touch it. Flat out. And even if something happens, like let's say I had a rainy day fund, the deal with myself is you still can't touch it. Well, then what's the rainy day fund for? To hold my vibration higher no matter what happens. Because if I can make the money to save this money, it means I can make the money to pay for what needs paid for and not touch this money. Think about it. Like just think about it. If if I can create more than enough money, which means I can save money, right? So most people are operating paycheck to paycheck, right? They'll increase a little, they'll spend it. They'll increase a little, they'll spend it, but they're rarely gaining wealth, right? So let's say I'm just at zero or I'm at a normal 100 or 1,000 or 10,000 or whatever's normal to you. Like you spend this much and you have this much and maybe some goes extra, maybe you're zero, wherever you're at right now. If you increase that number that you can put away. So if you're at zero and you increase to $100 or $1,000 a month and you're putting it away and you get used to that behavior of life, well, you've changed. And now you have this bag of money. So this bag of money is vibrationally changing you. If you eliminate it, you go back to where you were and it causes scarcity. But if you could do that, what you could do is just leave that bag there. And worst case, if you're putting $1,000 or even $100 away a month, you just don't access that. You just use that extra 100 to pay for what needs paid for, no matter how long it takes. But you leave that there because that's what you told yourself you needed to feel safe. So you want to keep that there. That's just comfort money.
Mhm.
That's all it is. It's not to be used. It's just comfort money. And it's like, well, but that's what it's for. You don't need it. If you have access, you don't need it. So you make an agreement to yourself. No, don't go there.
It makes me think of your friend that you've talked about like a couple times with me, that his comfort money is 1,000,000.
Oh yeah. Yeah, if it goes below 1 million, he's freaking out. Granted, he does use like sometimes he has to put a lot on the line and it's can go quickly and not having the money there to buy what needs to be bought in business, it's like can get sketchy. So it's just wherever it's like your thermometer. Where's your temperature? Like his is set at 1 million. Other people's are set here. Mine has had to change from time to time, up and down. But the idea is if you can do it that way, just continue doing it and just pay for what you need to, or go make more money. Ideally, leave it alone. And so what I started to do was saying, I keep building businesses. I keep doing this. I make more money, but then I make more money than my lifestyle goes up, and it's like there's never any more money. It's just more expense. That's what seems to be created. So I said, well, I'm just going to invest money, and I'm not going to touch it. I'm just going to keep investing and keep investing and keep investing and keep investing until I find something that works. And my I won't touch it until it can more than replace my income. So if I'm making, let's say I need 10, well, probably 20, but let's just easy numbers. I need $10,000 a month just to live my lifestyle. That still gives me a little bit to where I can still put away some, right? That I pay my tithing, I pay into some investments. Let's say there's $3,000 that just goes away to that, and then everything else is lifestyle. That's, pays my minimum bills, pays my travel, pays what I need for now. It's not much, but let's just say that's what I'm doing. So I'm still investing into my investment. Well, if I have an investment that starts paying me 10K a month, I don't quit what I'm doing. What I want to do is I want to take that to 20K a month, so that when that investment's paying me 10,000 a month, there's an extra 10,000 going back into itself. That's wealth, right? Like that's really so, but I'm just like, I'm just going to keep paying into it. So my change wasn't, I'm going to save a bunch of money, because when I save money, the money's sitting there and I find a good deal and I buy a good deal. Right. But I wanted to do something different. I wanted money sitting somewhere that has a smaller return, but that I can build and build and build and build. So I just started doing that. And then all of a sudden, shit hits the fan. I get divorced. I got all this debt, crazy stuff and everything else. And people are like, well, do you have anything you need to sell? Well, I've got this and this and this. Well, you got any investments? I've got investments. Well, can you sell them? No. No, why not? Because it's not my money. Like I've already made the negotiation to myself that it's not my money and it has to stay over there. And I will just work more to make more money. Like I said, I don't take from my savings. I already can make the money. I increase my income. And then once everything's paid, now my lifestyle is going to be here, but my income is going to be here, and I can just invest 50% of my income. So that's a changing mindset. I think that's a little off topic, but I just wanted to give a picture for forcing change in whatever ways work for you, of saying I have to do something different. And if that's $100 a month into some kind of investment, whether, and you might be a stupid investor and make mistakes, fine. I started out by saying I will probably spend this money on entertainment. So let's just call it entertainment, and maybe it pays me back until I learn something. And then pretty soon you have a significant amount of money tied up in it. And you're like, maybe I should learn what I'm doing before this money disappears. Right. Because it would suck. Like it's still painful if it disappears, but and some of mine did. I had a bunch invested. I didn't exactly know how it was being invested. And then the company over leveraged and they got wiped out. 20 grand gone like that. I was like, oh, that sucks. Okay. But I moved some in different places and I'm still up overall in what I'm invested in. So I'm like, okay, no problem. We'll just keep going. But I already made the agreement with myself of how I was going to do this, because it really didn't change my life, to be honest. My lifestyle didn't go down by putting the money in, and my lifestyle didn't was actually zero impact when it disappeared. When that 20K went disappeared, other than my emotional or the story I had around it. That's the only thing that changed. But did it impact me in any way? No, because it wasn't doing anything for me. It was just sitting there building. So the only thing it was giving me was some sense of hope, I guess, which was cool, but fundamentally it didn't change anything. So let me back up and kind of get into more of the idea of, as people are going through goals and they're working towards something, and then they start to focus on money, right? Like, and then they start running into financial blocks.
Yes. Well, I think one of the things that we need to like look at is like asking yourself, where are you, and do you want, like, if you want things to change, then it's like what needs to change in order to create that. Because if you don't have the money you want, or you're not making the money you want, or you're not, if there's something around money where if you're not satisfied in money,
Mhm.
then there's something there that needs to change, and that's what needs to be looked at, right?
Yeah.
Hmm. But if you are satisfied, then like no big deal, right? But if
Yeah.
you
I
want,
mean, I mean, even if somebody is satisfied, I think they still need to kick it up, because growth is what's like, if you're not growing, you're dying.
hmm
So you should be looking for, let's say you're retired, your money's making more money, your things are doing this, and you may not be focused on money, right? Like that's a possibility. However, growth in all areas is still important. And even if you have money doing something and it's doing it over and over again, you still can't completely walk away from it because the world is changing constantly. And if you're, especially if you're a man, like God commanded you to produce. And so you should always have some idea of what's going on with your money and how you can increase something in some way. Now, you might increase the size of a business that really doesn't impact you financially, but it secures your investment, as in we are keeping up with the times, therefore it is moving forward. And that might be as simple as being an advisor in a company. That might be it. Like you're advising, you're educated, you're helping, you're watching, you're observing, you know the score, right? Like that potentially could be where you wind up. But to completely disconnect and unhook from it would be maybe for periods of time, but you still need to know what you're doing and what's going on to some degree outside of maybe some time periods. It just depends. Um, you if you leave your money over to someone else completely and fully, you could, it might work, it might not. And if you have kids, you need to be working in money so that you can train them and show them how it's done until they take over. And then maybe you can leave it to them. I don't know if you trust them enough. But that's on the upside. Day to day, most people paycheck to paycheck, right? And so I want to go for this goal and everything else. They're going for it, but then they start to focus on the lack of not having enough, right? Typically.
Hmm.
Like most people we deal with, they're in there, they got a goal, they're doing it. They might even have more than enough, but they will still start to focus on the lack of what they have and try to restrict resources, right? And when you restrict resources, you're damming the flow. Okay, like you're just throwing the dam up and like, well, I don't know about this. Now, sometimes you got to pull back and assess, and it's not necessarily a restriction; it's an allocation. It's more like, what do I have, and how do I allocate this? And do different things, but it's not shutting the dam. But what
Because
happens?
most of us will shut the
Yeah,
dam.
most people that
I
they'll,
shut the dam.
yeah, you're typically a dam shutter. You're like a beaver building dams. Not really, but I'm a little mixture of both, and then I know people that just that's like that, like they've got more hope than the size of their checkbook, and so they just put money everywhere as fast as they can, and there's no real ability to make it pay.
Hmm.
And so um anybody that's ran their own business and been in business more than 2, 3, 4, or 5 years, right in there, then it's like, you know how to make it pay, otherwise you'd be out of business. Now you might be trying to figure out how to make it pay more, but you know how to make it pay. Somebody that's never ran a business and then they go into business and they're spending, it's like, you need to close the dam for a minute to figure out how much water do I have to let through to make the power that I can sell.
And this is why you say know the score.
Yeah, you have to know. And that's like, if I put money here, how does it make me more money? And typically that's kind of my rule. If I spend money, how does it make me money? And that might sound straight business, but it's not. That also means if I don't spend enough money on fun, then I won't be motivated. But if I spend too much money on fun, then I could fuck my business because I need capital to continue to grow my business. So it's this mixture. I can't use too much here. I have to allocate. Like if I have a dam, I'm going to allocate the water. Some of the water is going to go to irrigation. Some of the water is going to go to making power, and some of the water is just going to flow down the river. And so if you look at that, a sending water to irrigation is like an investment, right? We're going to send it down the ditch. We're going to plant crops, and we're going to let them grow, and they're going to pay off, right? And then we're going to send some water right down the chute to turn the turbine to make money now, right? Instant power. We're going to send it out. We're going to cash out right now. Okay, there's money going there. that's like your day-to-day stuff. That's why I have a car so I can get to work. This is why I buy food so I can live. This is, like you're putting it in, you're taking it out. You're putting it in, you're taking it out right there. But then there's water still going down, right? Downriver. And that's where you get to go play. You can get in a raft and go have some fun. Right. So there has to be flow in all areas, of these different things to really get into it. So when people are starting to look at things and well, I'm just going to go on this subject, and I think it's different levels for different people. Every one of you have something that you don't want to let go of. Everybody does. I don't care who it is, but everybody has something they don't want to let go of. If not now, later, different times. It would be like buying something that you really, really wanted and you're really, really proud of, and then you buy it and you get it and you're all happy about it, and then you instantly have to let it go. Like you don't get to keep it. Like, would you be okay with that? You worked for it, everything else, it's just gone. Are you gonna be okay with that?
No.
Most people are not. No, no, like I did it, like, and so they hang on to it. But what you don't always understand is that money is a resource to be put into circulation, right? It's not a thing, like it it's not your body, it's not your soul, it's not your relationship, it's not your business. It's just a thing. And so if you take it out of circulation, you have less. And so you have to put it into circulation so it can work for you. And whether that's for fun or the different things that we might do, it has to be in circulation. And so it's an exchange. It's a form of exchange
Money is a renewable resource.
constantly.
That's one of my stickies
Yeah.
that
And so
I've learned being with you.
yeah, there's certain things that I'll look at and be like, this isn't good enough. We just have to change it. And sometimes it's a push, it's a stretch. And there's other times when I'm like, no, this will work for now.
Hmm.
But I'm always looking to go, where can I create a void? Because if I create a void, nature likes to fill it. And it can fill it with anything, like random stuff that you don't necessarily understand. But if you have a void and you know what you want to go in there, then the opportunity presents. It's like turning on your reticular activated what
Particular activating
activating
system.
your reticular activating system or whatever.
Mm.
And anyway, it's when you don't see something and then someone brings it to your attention and you begin to see a lot of something.
Hmm.
So if all of a sudden you have a void, like in your closet, then all of a sudden you're looking to fill the void.
Mm.
So as you're manifesting, you begin to see the opportunities to fill the void. Okay. So if I have a car, I have a car. I don't need to fill anything. But if I don't have a car, how fast do you think that's going to get filled? Fast. And I'm going to manifest whatever I need to get it done. If I don't have enough investments and that becomes a void, then I will manifest more money to fill the void. And so some of you don't even have the investment mentality and you need to catch it. Like you need, like a bad cold. You need to catch it. In some cases, like it needs to become something inside of you to be like, I have to start doing something now, even if it's $10, $100. And so with Cameron, her son, I started paying him $5 a week allowance. Just comes. There's no commitment, no anything, because I want him programmed that money always comes to me. So it's like I'm gonna start my, he started at 10, I think, right around 10
Hmm.
is when I came in, and so I started doing that. But I also started putting $5 a week in a savings account that maybe he gets, maybe he doesn't, but it's his. So it gives confidence, it gives certainty, it gives these different things, but it becomes this source of wealth because it just continues to fill up. And to me, it's not a big deal. I'm going to spend that over and over again daily. Doesn't matter. And so I focus less on restrictions and more on make more. And if I want to buy something, I typically just buy it and move with it and have fun with it. And then occasionally check and be like, where am I at? Am I moving the bigger numbers? The little stuff doesn't matter. If I go out to eat, I go out to eat, right? Like I'm not looking at, oh, well, how much was this? I do what I feel,
Mm.
but I'm in the zone of being able to create more because I own my own business. And when I do this, I'll I'll like land better deals. Like it's like magic. It just shows up. When I start to pull back and I'm focused on like, well, I need to do this thing over here, but maybe I can get a deal here. Then maybe I can get a deal here. And it's just like, oh, it's such a dredge to like deal find the whole way through it. And then I'm exhausted and it took twice as long. And then there's other times when I'm like, oh, that's a good deal. I buy it. 2 days later, I sell it. I made the same amount of money in a few. It, I mean, the other a month ago, I literally was watching an auction. I saw something. I was like, oh, I put a bid on it. I bought it. I was like, huh, okay, that was cheap. I called the guy, hey, could you go pick this up for me? He's like, hey, I'll buy that from you for this much. Thought about it, went back and forth. I was like, tried to get him up a little bit. He wouldn't go. I was like, but you'll give me this. Okay. I sold it to him by the end of the night. $800 profit just from it, basically texting a guy back and forth. That was it. It's like, man, I wish I could do that every day. But I wasn't focused on restricting. I, you know, I spent money. I put a lot of money out there to get it, and then boom, come right back with more. And so you have to have this mindset that when I put money out, it brings me back money.
And that's a hard switch right there. That's like I think where a lot of people get hung up is like in order to like spend, receive, like it being a renewable resource. Because I remember when you told me like I am a saver and I like don't like to spend that much. And so when Matt came into my life and he's like, encouraging me to like treat myself, spend more, like do this. And I see him like spending money.
Freak her out sometimes.
And I'm like, well, like the saver in me is like, well, what are you doing? Like, why are you spending money? And he's like, well, I'll just make more. And I was like what? Like you'll just make more? Oh, like that actually makes a lot of sense. But when I think about that still, because it's still funny, because it's like you trust in your ability to make more, right? You trust the universe will provide, like you trust, right? Where like there then people like me are like holding on so tight and we're like not doing anything. But now that you've encouraged me to, spend a little more, I see that
Circulating.
it is circulating.
Yep.
Like you're right.
Yeah, you'll a lot of times you'll do something and then you like get another client.
Right.
It's like it's something, and it's not even that big. It's like you wind up gaining a lot more. But there is a caveat to this that you might think that I'm talking about this in a way that, oh yeah, I just throw money out there and it just comes back to me. It's like, no, I have enough money out there and enough resources and assets out there that if all of a sudden money shut off for a month, I'm okay. Like I'm not going to lose it. And even if I had to really like for whatever reason restrain, hold back for a while, I can. I mean, I can go work my butt off bare hands and just work and keep food on the table if that's what's required. And so by by me saying that, what I want you to realize is I have no scarcity because I know I can just go to work and provide. Like if that, you know, I may not have the nicest car when this happened. Like if this happened, I've had to do this before a couple times where business failed, like just financial disaster and, slandered and all kinds of crazy stuff. I was like, well, I guess we can go back to work. And it was working for, I mean, stupid cheap money, like very highly skilled labor for stupid cheap money, just to like this. I got to pay this bill this week, go to work, get it paid. That was the mentality. Very, very challenging. But being able to do that, I don't have the scarcity. So I don't wander around being like, oh, I got to save money. I got to do this. Like, no, I'll just figure it out and I'll get it done. one way or another. I'll find a way. I'll get it done. So first thing you got to do is eliminate the scarcity. If you have scarcity around something, you have to find what if it works for you. Some people are going to be different than others. It might be that bag of money. Like for example, you might look at it as when you were single, it was like, I have a son to provide for. I have to take care of him every other week. I can't go get a conventional job.
Mm.
I mean, I could, but then I'd have to work a weird schedule. I'd have to do this, and to some degree, you could because you know how to like serve. You could be a server, you could do whatever, and you could get by. It wouldn't be fun, but you could. So bottom line, you can make it.
Hmm.
So it gives you some certainty. However, you don't want to wind up there, and so you hold more of a bag or whatever of money to give you some more safety, certainty, or like the what if.
Hmm.
Whereas like I can just go produce now
Hmm.
in multiple different businesses. I mean, like 20 plus different trades type thing. And so I don't have scarcity. And so to the person that has one job, one skill, that's all you've ever done. You're an employee, which means you pretty much someone tells you what to do and you do it. That's a different role. It's a very different place to be. And so for you, your investment might not come so much in money, but it might. You might have that extra money, and if you're living paycheck for paycheck, I mean that's you need to pull back like your spending. Like you need to sell that car you're driving that's too nice. You shouldn't be buying overpriced houses or any, like you got to pull it back so you can put some away, or pull it back so you can spend some time on education. Like how else can you make money? Because somebody like that is typically a 40-hour a week employee or 50, 60, whatever. And so you got to pull some back to be like, where could I use my time? How can I educate myself? What should I do? What should I put it in? And then you begin to learn, and you don't necessarily put it in other than to test, but you got to be willing to lose it because most likely, like you're too dumb to know how to make money, so you're going to get taken advantage of, or you're going to get into the deals that everybody jumps in, and then it loses money. Like I've done it, everybody's done it to some degree, and you learn the lessons the hard way, unless you follow somebody that knows what they're doing. But that's trying to, a lot of people know what they're doing and they can't predict the future. So you're always at risk investing. But in my opinion, I'm at risk every time I drive to work, make an investment. Like it just is what it is. So if you're at that very fundamental bottom line job, well, maybe you don't even have a job, but maybe you got one skill and you got canned, right? And you're like, what do I do? It's paycheck to paycheck, and now I don't have a paycheck. Go to work, do anything, doesn't matter. Any type of flow, right? That's the key. You want flow. Any kind of flow will be up. And you might look at it and be like, if I take this job, I might be losing money. Well, what are your other options? Because you're losing right now. And yeah, you might be able to get some unemployment or whatever, but that's not gonna serve you. You use it however you need to. You do whatever needs required to get done. But you got to bring in some money, and then you got to start looking for other opportunities on how can I make more and then turn it into more. Not just hope for more, but actually turn it into more. I've trained a lot of coaches, and most of them get into coaching. They do a little bit to figure out how hard it is to gain a client to actually get their footing in, and they just keep working. And they kind of coach. It's more like a hobby. Very few actually will switch into full on coaching.
Well,
Okay.
some people are afraid to charge for their services. What's that about? What kind
Uh,
of mindset, like, is that?
I mean, there's,
I guess that could be a whole different.
yeah, there's a lot tied up in that. Um, the fear around charging for coaching, it does matter because some people can charge a lot, some people a little, and you kind of have to work your way wherever you're at. That you have a thermometer. Um, but the idea that, well, I'm trying to help people, and thinking that not charging them money is helping them is an absolute false story.
So what would need to happen would be figure out what the stories are, and then so you can change them, so you can start getting paid and having it, like, I like to look at it as an energy exchange, but figuring out what the stories are, like, why are you afraid to charge? Why aren't you charging? What's the story around that?
Well, I like to look at it more on the side of value, right? People will pay for what they value. But if you don't value yourself, you're literally telling them what I'm telling you has no value,
Hmm.
right? Like you're giving them permission to devalue what your information or your coaching or whatever else. When it has more value, they listen better. So if you devalue or if you don't charge, you're stripping the value out of your own efforts.
That's like why Tony Robbins will charge like 10 grand for one seminar,
Mhm.
because the people that will pay it are the people that value it and listen.
And they want it. They
And they
probably
want
need it.
it.
They're like, well, I mean, you do get some people out there that are jumped up on motivation and hope and everything else and whatever, and it's all great and whatever, and I don't think they have any regrets for it. But most of the time, you have somebody that's actually in pain and they're looking for a solution. And if you have the solution, they need to know that you're the person to give it to them. And if you don't put that financial value on it, then you're saying this really isn't that great. You should just, you know, keep your money. It's like go to a car lot and find the giveaway car and see how far it gets you.
Hmm.
I'm not talking about the win the prize giveaway car. I'm talking about the one the dealership looks at and be like, yeah, that was a trade. They drug it in. Like, you want it, you can have it. Like, how far is it going to get you versus value? Now you might be like, well, I don't need a Bentley. And it's like, well, but the person that has a lot of money does need that. Some of them, not all of them, but some of them do, because they want to enjoy that. So it becomes a must on what they want. So that would be the kind of the number one factor that I see, as far as don't strip the value out of your ability to help someone. Having said that, I'll still help people for free once in a while for a period of time, just because I care and whatever. But if I see them begin to devalue it, they're done. That's when I'm like, nope, that's a respect factor. I don't need to waste my time. I'd rather give my time to people that want it, even if it's a different person I can help, that they don't, it's a contribution. Because I've been in those situations a time or two, and people have reached out to help me when they knew I couldn't pay, and they had a conversation with me or whatever, and I'm grateful for it. And so I'll do it too. I have no problem with that. But when it comes down to it, if you want the highest level, it's going to cost you the most money. It just is what it is.
I feel like there's so much just around like money that we get to work through and discover in ourselves and all the things, right? Like there's just my mind is going in so many different places that there's just a lot there. But what are last question, what are we going to be talking about in our membership this week around this topic? Like what are we going to do? Do you have an idea?
So a, a lot of this topic is going to come up around with whatever you're working on currently.
Mm-hmm.
And even if you're not in the membership, but you've started listening, or you find this randomly, you can pretty much look at your current situation and say, what am I facing right now? What are my goals? What are my achievements? And it could be like, I want this new car, or a newer car, or I want to take this lady on a date, or but it has to do with money. Like, everything you're dealing with has to do with money. And so right now you have some level of, I need money for, and maybe you're looking for several $1 million to close a deal. Maybe you're trying to pay off a debt. Like, there's a lot of different options here. But whatever it is, really what we're going to get into and kind of work with people on is, with what you were going after last week, what was the money thought? Like, what was the block? What was holding you back? And then we'll start working on, like, how do we change the programming in that to change the mindset around it? How do I reframe it, or how do you reframe it? We ask those questions. So what should it be? The mindset in what direction? And then also any, maybe do a little energy clearing to, if need be, around like trauma triggers, things like that, as far as if anybody's been brought up with like parents saying money doesn't grow on trees, or like that, we can't afford it, how I heard that all the time when I was a kid. Well, we can't afford it, can't afford it, can't afford it. And I'm thinking to myself, is like, luckily I was very defiant and just didn't never really listened to anything anybody said. And because I would just observe, I just sat back and observed. Well, you said this, but then you did this.
One of my favorite beliefs is that single moms are supposed to struggle.
Mm, it's hard.
It's really
Yeah,
hard.
it's really hard. Like, why? Doesn't have to be.
Right. But
Yeah.
we're told it is.
Yeah. Well, that's because everybody needs to be feel significant.
Mhm.
And
And it is hard sometimes, but like we're told like our whole lives, like we have to stay because it like let's just say if we're married, we stay in it for the kids because single moms, it's a tough life.
yeah,
And when you
or
believe it's a tough
just
life, you
sometimes
create a
people
tough
just
life.
say having kids is hard.
Hmm.
Some people say that. And then
It is for some.
a few others just choose to do otherwise. And,
Hmm.
but like single moms, it's hard being a single mom. First off, that's justification for you feeling less than enough. Typically, well, it's hard doing this. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't even have to be talked about. And even if you don't feel like you're doing it well enough, it doesn't matter. You're doing it. That counts. However you're doing it is enough. We don't need a justification. You don't need to be like, well, it's hard because you can't afford to pay for this thing for your kid or whatever. Yeah, that's okay. Like, we're not going to judge you for that. Like, it's okay. How about we just start there? Like, it's just okay. Wherever you're at is okay. We don't need a justification, because what happens when you give yourself permission to say it's hard, you're giving yourself permission to quit, to just stay where you're at instead of doing better. And that's typically what I see happen is, well, you don't understand. Blah, 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 blah.
Well, that I feel like that was me a little bit in the beginning because like when I became a single mom, my belief was like, okay, this is going to be hard and I'm going to struggle.
Mhm.
And then I feel like for a minute there, I was like creating a struggle. And then I was like, wait a minute, this is not what I want to do. I
Right.
don't want to struggle.
Mhm.
Like, how do I change this?
And you changed a lot of it because you quit drinking, which changed your associations. And then you got around a lot of people that weren't struggling,
Hmm.
and you're like, I don't want to struggle either. And so a lot of it is letting go of your current beliefs, patterns, environments, some of the people in your life, you know, get
Hmm.
them out. The gossip circles that happen are not healthy. Like my mom is famous for repeating the same negative shit over and over again. She's a wonderful person, but it's like, stop. Like, I always have to kind of stop her. Like, look at what you're saying. It's negative. Everything you just said was based on a negative. Therefore, even if you're trying to say it positively, it's based on a negative. It's not going to work out. It just doesn't
And
work.
if you want to be rich and you grew up with your parents telling you that rich people are greedy,
Mm,
then you will like unconsciously hold yourself back from being rich because you don't want to be seen as greedy.
yeah.
So even though you want the money, you're not going to allow yourself to make it. Or maybe you do, but then you sabotage it because you don't want to be like, you have this belief that it's going to make you a greedy person.
Yep. And as you're making it, everybody's going to go against you and like, oh, you just think you're better than us, blah, 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 when they're really just saying, I don't feel like I'm good enough, so I'm going to tear you down. And you can't hear that. Instead, you go to the triggered part and then you sabotage yourself.
There's so much here.
Yeah,
I'm really excited to go over
there's
this week a little bit.
yeah, and there's even the wealthy people are greedy or mean. Okay.
Mhm.
So I know some wealthy people that are very controlling, and their way or the highway type. But the majority of wealthy people that I know are extremely generous.
Hmm.
They're just not generous to losers. Okay. Like,
Well, they just don't give their energy to people that are not at least trying to make moves
they're
to
not gonna
better
they're not gonna
themselves.
associate with people that are tearing them down.
Uh-uh.
They're just not. And so the people that are pointing the finger at, oh, you're greedy and everything else, they just go over there.
They just think,
And
well, you can think whatever you want to think. It doesn't matter.
yeah,
And then, yeah, they just go
we
over
just don't
there.
we just don't waste our time with you. Like, just go over there. Like, we don't care. And if you get in our face, we have to put you in your place. So it's like, so then you think we're mean, and we're not. It's like we're actually doing you a favor. We're the only person honest enough to tell you where you are at, not where you belong or anything else, just to tell you where you're at. But if you continue, or whatever, we might do it a little aggressively and you might not like it. But ultimately, if you meet us with the energy that we're willing to give, more than generous, right? Like, well, take a time out, we'll have a conversation, but we hold a very high standard, and most losers don't like that. So then they point the finger, and it's just, and it's like, okay, good. Like, I would rather, if that's your energy, please point the finger and call me names so that you just don't even come near me. Like, you're doing me a favor. Do
Hmm.
that, you know. And so anytime you see somebody that you think is wealthy or greedy or anything else, I like, my cousin gets accused of this all the time. He started a car dealership and whatever. And he's tight with money. He is, but he's not a bad person. He I find him to be pretty generous in respects to different things. Like, me, for what I've given him versus what he's given me, I'm on the winning side. He's never really given me money, but he's given me information. I've watched him do things. I've gained a lot of knowledge through him. And I can guarantee you, if I genuinely asked him for some help somewhere, he's going to make a good suggestion or help me. But a lot of people think that he's mean, or he's greedy or whatever. And I'm like, no, he's smart. He's very, very smart. And I want him to be my friend, because, like, on that level. So I don't, I've just never looked at wealthy people as mean or anything else. I just look at myself as being like, if they can do that, how can I do that? Because I just don't see people naturally as mean or greedy. I see them as misunderstood. So yeah, there's a lot of different things to get into here, but you have to change. As much as you change who you are and everything else, you have to change that thermometer of your financial situation. And that might be through investing. It might be beginning to change a habit or behavior. It might be as simple as changing the way you think about something, or going back and saying, what was I told? What am I believing? If this word comes out of your mouth, you have a problem. You have a financial restriction. Can't.
Hmm.
If that word leaves your mouth, you have a financial problem. I can't. Why? It always goes to money. Everything that you try to tell me you can't do, I will show you how it goes to money. You show up on the membership call and tell me, nope, here, I got one for you. You can't, I guarantee you cannot explain to me how money would change this scenario, because I can't do, but whatever. Bring that to the Thursday call, and I will, if you stump me, I will pay you $100. I'll put it that way. If you can stump me on that, I will pay you $100.
That sounds like a challenge.
Yeah, good luck, because I'll show you who you can pay to overcome your problem, no matter what it is. It'll completely change everything. So that's how important money is in our society, which is cool, because back in the day, you had to trade your resources. You had to have something, give it to somebody else to get it, and whatever else. Now you can just do your job, take the money, and buy anything. Even if the person doesn't want your resource that you have, in other words, your efforts, your skills, your stuff, maybe they don't want it, but they have what you want. Doesn't matter now, because you just have money and you can just buy it. It's way easier,
That's
way easier.
cool.
Yeah,
That's cool.
it's an amazing resource. So the that that's kind of probably going to be the more or less the highlight of the membership call is, bring me your can'ts. And I will show you how these are I won't, because that's ultimately what it is. You making a decision to say, I won't do that. I won't give this up. I won't do this. I won't do that. I won't do this. But I'm going to tell you, I want all these things, but I won't do anything to get it. And as that comes up and you begin to see it and look at it in a different light and then be like, what if? What if I did? What if I can? How would this look? Well, I don't know. But you got to start looking at it to get the vision to even manifest it. Like I said, if you create the void, you begin looking at the hole. You're like, how can I fill this? And then you see the solution. But that has to start with a I can, not a I can't. I can't give this up because if I give this up and then I need it, I won't be able to do blah, 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 blah. No, if you give it up, then you will find a very fast solution to gaining it. You know, I mean, I can't even remember. It's, well, I mean, even in the last week, I've put money up that I didn't necessarily want to put up. Right? It's like, I don't really want to spend this money on this thing. I just don't. And like, it feels like I'm having to buy more tools and more tools and more tools. But I buy a tool, I use it once and it pays for itself. I use it twice, it makes me money. But you got to have that to spend it, which means you're kind of putting a hole in your bank account. You know, you're creating a void. So then it's like, I want that filled back up. It's like the guy, my buddy, that has to have $1 million in the bank all the time. Right. So if he has a void, he's like, where's the money coming from? I got to go find, and he goes and finds the money and lands a job. Just always keeps working because that's where his thermometer is. So this will be an interesting conversation to kind of go through everybody to see where they're at and what they're dealing with in the current moment, to say, hey, what are the stories, the limiting beliefs that you're telling yourselves? And most of them won't actually be able to hear them. But when they start talking, I'm going to start grabbing them and being like, there's one, there's one, there's one, there's one, there's one. Look, like this whole thing you just tried to explain to me is all bullshit, because right here is where the problem is. And we can just go right back, attack it, change the story, change the result. So
Awesome.
I don't think I should get into much more than that, because I could just keep on going on different levels of,
No, that was really
yeah.
good. Yay.
So was there
Awesome.
anything else you wanted to add, or?
No, I think that was
Okay, so I
a
mean,
good conversation about money.
yeah, it's gonna be good. So if you're coming up on the membership call, like this is a question you have, where am I telling myself I can't? In what areas? Like, and you look at your body, you look at your relationships, you look at your spiritual side, your being, and you look at your business. Even if it's not a business, it might be your household or how you run things. So you just got to look at, where are you saying I can't? Especially the I want tos, but I can't. Those specifically, because we're working on success and goal achievement here. So we're looking at the I want, but I can't yet, or can't, so we're going to just start addressing those and figuring them out.
Awesome. Thank you. All right.
I'll see
Bye.
you guys, some of you, on Thursday.
Okay.